Hi, and welcome to She's the Boss Chats. I'm your host, Jules Brooke, and in the show, I interview amazing women and female founders about what it is that they're doing and why they're doing it. It's all about us lifting up the women around us. So, Lora Starling, how fantastic to have you on here as my guest. I'm very excited. We're very new to the whole She's the Boss podcast, but you are the perfect guest. Don't worry, he's done all the testing on it. So, my first question to you is, for our beautiful audience that will be wondering who the hell you are, can you tell us who you are and what your business is?
My business has always been based in graphic design.
Right.
I'm Australian, studied in Melbourne, worked for a year over here, and then went to London, which I loved, and kind of made my mark in London, worked with fabulous design companies.
Right.
And then went out on my own and started my own Starling Design. Now just called Lora Starling, because I like that better.
And why did you go out on your own?
I was very fortunate in that I got a job with probably one of the design companies, probably still one of the best design companies in the world, Pentagram.
I would have to say, just for anyone that might be listening, that I worked in graphic design in London, and I would agree that Pentagram is probably one of the top 5 agencies probably in the world.
And they're still going. And you know, they're the largest. The other day I heard they're the largest independent one, so they haven't been gobbled up by an advertising agency.
Great.
So they're not answerable. They're only answerable to the client for their quality. And I kind of like that. And it's set up as little companies, but they all work together. I mean, in it there's partners. So, it expands laterally. And I thought after 5 years, what do I do now? So I went out on my own.
Right, so tell me about Lora Starling Design, because I'm going to ask you about your career path in a minute. But what is it exactly that you do? Because it's not like the average designer out there. I know.
Right now what I do.
Yeah, what do you do now? What is Lora?
After my conventional, let's do branding and corporate identity logos.
So we're going to talk now, and then we're going to go wind it back. So.
Well, I think we often, it's almost like we do something for a while and then something comes knocking at your door, and I thought there's more to this. There's more to this branding and logos and stuff than there is. And I started to think about the bigger picture. Do I still want to make people rich? What is it? When you start going inside, you get amazing answers. If you really trust yourself. And I did the meditation, the intuition, and yada yada, and that sort of thing. So I realised, it was almost a lightning realization, that logos are so much more potent than we think that they are.
That's right. So we all think that that's, just something on a letterhead or maybe a branding on an ad or on packaging.
Yeah.
But it's so much more than that, isn't it? Especially if you do it well.
Yeah.
And it actually has the essence of, say, the brand, which is a very hard thing to do, and that's where you're very special.
Well, I think
you can drill down to
in
that
the
essence.
old days, or logos started off being a guarantee of quality, like you're buying your Quaker Oats or whatever, and then it started just being a form of identification. Then we started adding emotions to it, which is where we are now. But there was just kind of more, and I thought so. I was impelled to start dissecting the logo, to reconstruct it, and that's what inspired my first book, The Logo Decoded.
You are such a designer. I love hearing that. I started deconstructing a logo. My goodness, okay.
And diving deep. Drilling,
into
drilling
meanings
deep.
that people wouldn't have any idea were associated with that logo, but it's...
And every element in a logo is awesome. So colour, since we could draw on cave walls, we've been using colour to choose our futures. The history of colours is unbelievable. It's not the idea.
And colours mean things as well to all of us.
We feel differently when we see different colours. Some colours work with us, some colours don't. Some people can see colours when they see words.
That's a thing, isn't it?
Synesthetic.
Yes, so they see drum and they see grey and they see bat and they see red or whatever. Yeah.
I know. And there's a man called Theo Gimbel, who's also known as the father of colour therapy.
Right.
And he pulled all of this together. I think he's dead now. But, he says you can throw colours at people, or you can envisage people with colours, and you can send colours and things like that.
And do you believe that as well?
I do. Well, yeah. Why wouldn't I? It's kind of worked. And our chakras. And I remember reading a book where NASA was doing some experimentation, and they suddenly, because their tools becoming more and more fine-tuned, they actually could find the chakras and they resonated.
In the NASA logo?
Yeah, no, not in the logo.
In their what?
in people. Logos
Right.
don't
Oh,
have.
okay.
And seeing the colours.
Right.
So the
So like
third
auras.
eye was indigo, and the throat resonated at the same values as turquoise, and the heart as green. It's really weird.
Wow.
So the Indians and the Chinese have known this for thousands of years, but we've never had the machinery to be able to measure it. But now we do. And then we've got sound. And sound is incredibly powerful. We know that sound can literally break down walls if it's at the right resonance, and how we deliver sound. And then we've got the shapes of symbols. So we feel differently when we see a round symbol than we do when we feel a square one or a spiky one. And it sounds different. There's two shapes that they do, booba and kiki. And they ask people to match a jaggy shape with one and a round shape with one. And
everyone does booba as the round shape.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
okay.
So anyway, and it goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
Or when we see an eagle, we feel differently. There's eagle, like the American eagle. And I just love that. Love delving into the elements.
So I want to know, what was that moment where you jumped from a logo is a typeface or a logotype, which is how I was brought up, and I worked actually in that corporate identity space, through to bringing in shamanism, emotions, and all that woo-woo stuff that you love. Was there a moment where you just went, this is too superficial, I know there's more this than that? And what was that moment?
Well, I got interested in other stuff, and so I studied herbalism, and then I made flower remedies. It was the plants that took me, and then I met a lady who taught plant spirit medicine.
Right.
And I was doing an event because I wanted to teach people at our farm. We had a farm in Somerset in England. And one of the participants was just sharing about how he had drawn with his finger in the air in a room a symbol.
Yeah.
And he had two people from outside coming in who were able to douse, and independently. Dousing is when you use...
it's like water
dowsing.
divining, isn't it? Like
exactly.
that kind of wishbone-shaped thing, and you move into a
Or it can be,
a
you can do it with
space,
coat
and it
hangers.
does funny things, it vibrates
they
or
cross.
something.
They
Right,
either
they
cross,
okay.
or you can do it with a pendulum and just keep asking
So
questions.
this guy had drawn a logo in the air.
Another girl had drawn a whatever it was, a symbol.
Right, in the air.
And
in an empty room.
In an empty room.
And then left the room.
Yeah.
And then this
he
guy
came
comes
in, he
with
walked up and down with his rods, and he said, that's where it is.
And it was exactly the right spot.
And then he continued to talk. He was amazing, actually. And he said, I was talking about, you could draw a symbol and you could put a glass of water over it, and that, with a symbol with an intention, or a word, and that glass of water would take the energy of that, and you could drink that and get the energy of that symbol. And I've seen that work.
Sorry,
and it's
I
really
keep going because
weird.
it's really weird
I
now,
know.
but keep going.
But intention is everything. Even Deepak Chopra's
No, but there was
intention
something
rules
about
the
those
world.
glasses. Haven't you told me a story before about
Well, the water.
where when the water does something?
Well, then I thought this is interesting, and it was that was the light bulb moment.
Right.
And that's when I started to research it. And one of the things with the water is the Japanese scientist, he died a couple or 3 years ago, I think, called Masaru Emoto.
Mm-hmm.
And he spent his whole life researching the qualities of water and how water absorbs different energies. But those energies can be kind of emotional or intentional. So his laboratory was in a big freezer, and he would have students going by. He'd have two vials of water. One would have, both from the same source, one might have love written on it, the other one hate. He might get the students to walk past on another day and say to another vial of water, I hate you, and the other one, I love you. He might play different musics to them, and when he would freeze those and slice them, there were beautiful snowflake patterns in the ones that had the good qualities projected at them, and the ones with the so-called bad qualities were all blobby. And the more I looked into it, I thought, what are we drinking when we drink soft drinks? What's the intention behind the logo on those soft drinks? Because there's a huge intention.
Yes, well, I think we probably
And it's basically to make money, isn't it? It's certainly not to make us healthy. It's certainly, the only way it's to make us feel better is because we feel the logo,
they're doing
the hype.
and they're doing the subterfuge thing with it's going to make you feel good, which is why all the advertising, having just spoken with Anne Miles at a previous podcast, she was talking about how advertising has to tap into those emotions, and it used to be so ridiculously sexist.
Yeah.
But it's the same sort of thing, isn't it? So talk to me about the logos that you have designed, because I actually haven't asked this of you. So are there can you name a couple of logos that you've done for really well-known brands, and then maybe talk us a little bit around the emotion around that?
I could. Well, I worked for 30 years with
No, it's a bit hard to
with Lloyd's,
put you on the spot
with Lloyd's
with
Bank.
a couple of,
Lloyd's
right.
Bank. I'm talking the straight.
So Lloyd's
the
Bank,
straight.
for anyone that's in Australia that doesn't know, is a really big bank in England.
It's one of the 5 major banks.
Yeah, like Westpac and ANZ is here. Lloyd's is one of the massive ones over there. So
and they came to me and said, we need to redesign our logo. And I thought, well, this was huge. It was a sort of $1 million project
Absolutely.
or more. So I got together a consortium of designer friends and said, we're going to need to present this together. If I've got I can't do it with my one assistant. And we got it. And so we worked on that. And they were good, and it was the height of the 80s,
Yes.
when banking, and 90s.
money, when money was ruling the world and everyone wanted to be
Absolutely.
rich.
So
And Wall Street had just come out, that movie.
Yeah, it was very exciting to be in that. Until, you realise, you get a bit older and wiser.
I know.
Oh, God, was I part of that?
Well, that's right, because it was obviously, there wasn't a lot of warm, fuzzy emotions that were attached in those days.
But
anyway.
what was amazing is when I started doing that, and they still did that, because I think I did their report and accounts for 30 years, I was very privileged that I would be in meetings with the chairman, the group chief executive, the key guys who really wanted to know what I was going to impart in that report and accounts, or what it was going to be. So we dealing with them. And then, do you know when it started to sort of get fuzzy was when they delegated that to accounting sets and things who had their own agenda.
Right.
And they were analysing things, and this is the trend.
Well, this is the suits versus creatives thing, isn't it? So they start getting all left brain, and you are all right brain.
All the people who really cared about the company. The main guy I worked with was Sir Brian Pittman. And he had come up through the bank since he was something like 17 years old, starting as a teller, a bank teller.
So he knew it inside out.
He loved that bank.
Right.
And it was so nice. And so we'd present, and it was all very formal. You didn't speak until Sir Brian spoke to you or anything like that. And at the end we'd say, well, Miss Starling, well done. You've done it again. And there was a
and
sort
had
of...
that glow in...
It was, yeah, we were just working together as a team, right at that, left brain, right brain.
So
male,
let's actually
female,
talk about
whatever.
that, because when we're talking about logos, really, I would say instinctively 99% of people think it's all about the graphics, and that it's all very right brain, it's creativity, it's whatever you can churn out, and everything from Fiverr to a company like Pentagram that would be doing it for hundreds of thousands of dollars. In the end, people think it's about the visual, but there is just so much more to it.
It's what the visual delivers. And remember, it's sound as well. The lovely thing about a word or the logo.
Are you talking about the onomatopoeia of the actual sound,
exactly.
like Lloyd's?
Yes, exactly. And also, this is really weird, and Dave and I were talking about it downstairs.
I love weirdness.
But the sound, the shape that your mouth makes. And I go down rabbit warrens with this sort of thing down the hole.
That's all right.
And I was
We can do
thinking
that
one of the
together now.
chants is So Hum. It's a very powerful Buddhist chant.
Right.
Buddhist chant. And I thought your mouth is round when it goes so. And when you go hum, it's a horizontal line.
Yeah.
And I thought that's the shape of the London Underground, because it's a
It's
circle.
a circle with a line through the middle.
And I was thinking, and then I sort of stopped. I thought, this is now getting weird. But when you start and look at that, everything has a reason behind it.
Yes.
Everything has an
But I
intention.
actually think that in the general public out there don't realise how much thought has gone into it. And one really good example was, I remember when Telstra changed its name, which I guess I'm showing my age because it was probably 20 years ago. And I can't even remember what they were, but they changed to Telstra and everyone went, oh my God, that's $1.5 million or whatever it was. And of course, part of it, I used to think, people don't realise that's just rebranding trucks and phone booths and all that kind of stuff.
Expensive.
So it's very expensive there. But the meaning behind it was, the orange loop was that was Ayers Rock, and the blue was the blue of the sea, and just all those sorts of things. And I remember at the time thinking, there is so much meaning and people don't realise. And then I moved into working in graphic design and the amount of thought. So people go, hey, I wouldn't mind you creating a logo for me. And they think you just go off and go, oh, what shape shall I do that T for Telstra? And do I like orange or pink? I might just decide. They don't think about all the strategy that goes into the back end of it and how incredibly...
I know.
analytical, I guess it is.
I think there's three things that came up for me as you said that, and I think it is. The first thing is, yes, we can do that. And a lot of designers will go, well, I did a serif face last week, or I've got a blue logo, or I did an angel last week, so I'll have an eagle this week, or I could do this for my portfolio. And that really is indulgent.
Yeah.
The other one is that we put meaning onto things, and we go, yes, we're going to do that. And it's that it also can be indulgent, that sell to things. We'll call that the blue of the
blue of the ocean, exactly.
And I know the burnt orange.
And the burnt orange will suddenly become Ayers Rock. That's the colour of Ayers Rock at sunset on a Tuesday night.
And again, I go, ugh. So I flipped that on its head. So what I will do now is it is like a shamanic thing. I will journey to the intention of that, because as soon as you have an intention to do it, and those things come up differently. So, and if I am going to invoke the spirit of Ayers Rock,
yes,
and this is really shamanic, it's very weird stuff, then I need to liaise with that. I need to say to Ayers Rock, is it okay?
Right.
No
that is a bit
indigenous people. No indigenous people would say, we've used the totem.
Absolutely not.
If you want the spirit of the eagle, like, Barclays Bank has got an eagle, the American nation has got an eagle, you need to say, is that okay to do that? You need to work with that energy. You don't just steal it. It's like me it's like me saying, oh, Jules has got pink hair. She's like this. I'm going to steal that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that without liaising with you, because you hold the power of that. And then we become really strong because we're working as an energetic unit.
We're working
like
together.
That.
All right, so now let's move on.
So it's not that weird.
It is weird, but that's absolutely fine. Weird is great for a whole lot of people. So now I'm going to bring you back to earth for a minute, and we're going to talk about your career path, because nowadays you run your own agency. I'm sure there's 101,000 probably girls out there that would love to own their own graphic design company. But where did you start? I want you to wind back right to school almost. And then how have you ended up here where you are now?
Very briefly, I went to a local primary, North Blackburn Primary State School, which was
that's right, because you grew up in Australia, because even though you've got that English accent, you've learned that in your adulthood.
Yeah, I used to walk to school with my little bag. God, I think about it. And then my mother, I don't know how she managed to do it. She packed me off to Presbyterian Ladies College.
Oh, okay, PLC girl.
Yep, so I did that for 6 years, and then I didn't want to go to university because there was nothing I wanted to do there, so I went to Swinburne.
Right,
and I did what was then
design.
called the Diploma of Art.
Yeah, okay.
You couldn't do a degree in it in those days. And then I worked for a year in Melbourne with an amazing designer who's gone on to do bigger and better things. He'd worked with some of the best designers like Les Mason in Australia.
Okay.
And it was his first year out. So I was his first assistant.
Wow. Are you allowed to name names?
David Hornblow.
Okay.
And he was my first boss. And do you know what? We're still in touch.
Isn't that lovely?
Which is really, really nice.
And I mean, I think if you do manage to start your career with a fabulous boss, it changes everything. I had a brilliant boss. I loved her.
Yeah.
And I think that does give you that kind of, I don't know, that sense of self-assurance. It's like having parents that love and adore you and really nurture you compared to people that don't have parents like that. It gives you that warm, fuzzy sort of confidence.
Yeah, I think so. I think I was thrown in the deep end because David, we joke about it now, he's an absolute bastard. And I don't think I had a weekend off in a year. I was never paid overtime.
That is the world of graphic design. I know that. He
take me home at night, and his wife would put me on the couch so he could get up at 4 o'clock in the morning,
and start again.
Yes, and I did it because I was brought up with that really good working class work ethic.
Yeah.
And I did it. But I probably got about 4 years experience in that 1 year. And the fact that I started with him from scratch, and when I left there were about 5 people working for him.
Yeah, fantastic. So you started off with him, and how did you end up in the UK?
I always wanted to come and work in London.
And I don't want to allude to your age, but was it the 60s or 70s? It was like
70s.
So it was when everything was taking off, and I mean London was the heart of of amazingness. I mean the Beatles were still there almost. It was all the
just sort of passed
just gone, but you've gone to England. You're a pretty green, I would imagine, Aussie.
First job. I went and visited. I said to David, "Who's good?" And he gave me a few people, and one was Pentagram. And I went there, and they said, "Look, we're interested, but we're not ready yet." So I found a job in a company called Murdoch Design Associates, but I was only there for 6 months But what was lovely about that is that they were based in Knightsbridge. So I was working
great.
2 doors down from Harrods.
I was going to say, for anyone that doesn't know London very well, Knightsbridge is kind of... And I worked at a place called Coley Portobello, which was behind Harrods.
Yeah, well, we
Same
were so
sort of
close.
thing. Yeah, we were.
If you were so much younger than me, we might have run into each other.
Knightsbridge is so posh, it's not funny, isn't it?
Such
like
good
from an
fun.
Australian point of view.
Oh, I know.
It's so
It's
posh, but
gorgeous.
it's like... I remember
Love
I
it.
used to walk to work and go past Alexandra McQueen
Yeah.
and then, like one huge name after another, and you go, this is the first store they had. Not this is one of the many, like in Australia where we end up getting, the last shop in the chain. It was the first one. So you were in Knightsbridge. You were waiting to get into this job in Pentagram.
And then I
you'd
got the
worked for
job
this
in
other one.
Pentagram.
Right.
Worked for 5 years. That was
And
magical.
was Pentagram pretty new in those days?
No, because it was relatively new, but only I don't know how many years, but before then it had been Crosby, Fletcher, Forbes.
Right, and
And then
Pentagram was because they got 5 partners,
Yep,
which
exactly.
is such a good name.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so how long did you work for them?
5 years. They had
Right.
a contract for 5 years, so then you were out.
Right. And did they do that as a thing?
Yeah,
that they
did.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
So they're basically, when we want fresh talent, we don't
Yeah.
care how much we love you, we just
Yeah.
want more people
Yeah.
coming through.
Yeah.
Clever. So after 5 years there, what did you do?
I went freelance. I
Right.
went to Covent Garden, which is also magical.
Yes, absolutely.
And I rented a room.
Yes.
No, I rented a desk.
Near Neil's Yard or
I
somewhere.
was,
fabulous.
right. Yes. I was in Neil's
Yeah,
Yard.
there you go. It doesn't actually get cooler than that. But go on.
And then I worked there, and then I shared a room with somebody, and then I took on an assistant, and then I went into a partnership in Notting Hill Gate.
Oh, God, you're just getting cooler and cooler,
And
aren't
that's
you?
when we did the Lloyds Bank thing. And then after that, I moved to Southwark, just south of the City of London, and bought my own building, which had an apartment in it.
Oh, my giddy
I should
aunt.
never have sold that building. But anyway, there you go.
We do those things. I know
It
when
was
I
lovely,
went
so
to
that was
London, I
fun.
ended up in Brixton. So this is,
Oh.
I mean, as far as London goes, Brixton was just getting really
Yeah.
trendy when I was there. But Southwark is just that little bit closer. So you're only just across, really,
Yeah, no,
the
just
river
5 minutes to walk.
from Westminster Abbey
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Big Ben and all that sort of thing. So right, so you had your own agency over there. Keep going. I want to know what happened
That's
between then and
when
now.
I met a man. He
Yes.
happened to be a client. She's rolling her eyes.
I don't think you're supposed to go out with your clients.
I know,
but anyway.
I know. Well, I did think that. He said,
I
"Oh,
think
you
it's
know,
allowed when
can
you
we
marry
go?"
them
And I
for-
was like, "Oh no, not another client trying to, no." But anyway, he was very sweet, obviously, and we got married and we had 2 children.
Right, so you opted out of your career at that stage?
No, I was still working.
Okay,
had the
all
nanny,
right.
had the all of
Pretty
that.
unusual,
that
I would have thought, in those days, to be a mum and
No,
working,
not that
wasn't
bloody
it?
old.
No, but I would have thought that
No,
still,
no.
even in the 70s, that, I mean, I
No,
can
we're in
think
the
of my
80s
mother.
now. But
Okay,
then, but
right.
no, I was full on. Had the support and
Right.
all that. Had 2 kids. We moved out a little bit to Essex,
Yeah.
where my husband had come from, on the Essex-Hertfordshire border, and that was
You
good
married an
because it was
Essex
still
boy.
Hertfordshire.
Sorry, I'm just
No,
joking
it was
about that.
actually
It's a bit of a
Hertfordshire,
joke.
but it was precariously close to Essex. But it was Hertfordshire.
Yeah.
Sawbridgeworth. And
And so what were you doing then with your own agency
I was still coming in, still commuting, doing
Right.
that because you could. It was only an hour away.
Yeah.
So we'd drive in the morning, and all of that. And then it just kind of got, just the magic goes out of it.
Yes, certainly of London it does go
I
out of
know.
it. You just go, I'd like to be able to blow my nose and not have black snot, and I don't want skin on my tea. And there were so many weird things about England, I remember.
I know. I used to love it when clients would phone up and say, I've got a problem. I go, I'm your girl.
Yep.
And then one day I've got a problem. I went, go somewhere else. I thought, it's time to get out.
Right.
So I was lucky in that I was, I just scaled down. But, and we moved again to Somerset, to a farm in Somerset. I think we were about in our 40s. And I said to my husband, we're still young enough to make a change. Is there anything you want to do? I said, I'm fine. I can do what I'm doing, because then I was more freelancing and using London agencies to do things. But I can mastermind it from anywhere. I can move. And he said, I've always wanted to be a farmer. I said, okay.
Let's do
then.
farming,
but I'm not going to be a farmer's wife.
Right.
Do not expect me to milk the cows.
And churn the butter.
I know.
In my buxom little outfit.
So we found this
I am not that
gorgeous
chick.
farm
You
in
went,
Somerset.
right.
It was so beautiful and it was magical. They're probably the best and the unhappiest times in my life, because I was abandoned. He was this, a female graphic designer at the top of a
Career.
form,
Yeah.
being written about in the the Financial Times and
Wow,
things like
yeah.
that. No, it's no big deal. But it's
Well, it is
being
actually.
dumped in this farm.
Yeah, yeah.
With 2 kids. It's like, I mean, I loved my kids, but,
Yeah,
you
of
know, it
course.
was like the
But
local
talk
primary
about
school,
a
and it was like...
culture shock.
It was. But the farm was very beautiful, and it was... I don't know a lot about this, but people who know more about it than me said that it had a convergence on it of 5 energy lines. So it was very
Why
deep.
am I not surprised you say that?
know.
Are they ley lines you're talking about?
Yeah, it's sort of ley lines. I think they could be both, because I don't know that much about it.
But that
it
particular
felt like
part
that.
of England was,
Yeah. It was in the
filled with
southwest,
special
which is
energy.
the magical
Well,
part.
Somerset
It's-
is
yeah.
absolutely
So
stunning.
it kind of pulls you deep. So you know, and I did go very deep, but there were jewels in that deepness. There were
Of course there were.
real gifts.
No, I'm only joking.
And no,
okay,
they were.
so tell me about along your career journey, and I am putting you on the spot, which is a bit unfair, but because this is a show about women in business, I kind of feel like it would be quite nice for anyone to do a shout out, really, for anyone that really, a woman who has helped you along the way. And you were in a career time when really it was very much dominated by men. So
Yeah.
did you have some sort of
Do you know,
special
Jules,
women that helped you?
It's always been women. Yes, it was. And one of the reasons I left Australia is because I always found it just so misogynistic.
Male,
I
yeah.
really did. And I didn't want to do that. And so we're talking in the 70s, the men, sorry, Jules, were more interesting than the women. The women were kind of my friends in my circle.
Because women
wanted
didn't have
to get
careers
married,
as much.
and wanted to do that. And I
Yeah.
didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
So I was down the other end of the party speaking to the guys about cars.
But you
'cause I
wouldn't have been
didn't
the only
want-
woman doing this, so I'm interested
There
to
weren't
know.
that many. Remember us out
Right.
in the burbs?
Yes.
I was out in Box Hill and Blackburn and things like that.
No,
And it
not
was-
in Australia, I guess I'm thinking. When you got to London and you decided
In
to...
London, it
in
was different.
Pentagram and also go out on your own, who were the women who helped you?
It was different. So the women have basically been my friends. And what I did find in London is that women seem to help women more. There's not a bitchiness. There's not a I'm going to get her.
I
I'm
feel
gonna
the same
do
way.
it.
It's so interesting you say that.
You know.
I do interviews even now and I go, I don't think women are bitchy to other women. Look, and that's a big, broad statement, and I understand saying that because I actually think corporate women don't understand the same thing as women who own their own business. But I think if you're in business on your own, my experience anyway has been that women are incredibly nurturing, helpful. How can I help you? I know someone that can do this. Let me help you.
I think, darling, because we're that much older. Sorry, but join the older set. I think that it's still,
but in
unfortunately,
corporate land,
there
I
with
know
younger women.
they cut each other
I know
off.
people.
That
It
still do
seems
that.
to be more in Australia, but maybe it's because maybe it's in London, that will just be very bitchy, that will cut people off. And I'm really, really saddened by that. And I have been so lucky. I've always helped my female friends and my girlfriends, my women business colleagues have been amazing, totally and
I would
absolutely
agree.
blessed. And it's like, how can I help you?
Well,
And
that's why
that's the thrill.
I've made the little motto for She's the Boss is women empowering other women
Yeah,
around them.
absolutely.
Because I think that we all need to help each other. We all
do.
need to kind of lift each other up a little bit.
That's what the feminine is. And if we're not doing that, we're playing the male game, and we're back to plan A, which is on the destruction path.
That's right, and we don't need to go down that game. We don't have to play that game. It's just that whole thing. So, okay, so now tell me, and again, I'm putting you on the spot because I haven't given you any warning about this one, but about this podcast. But anyway, have you had a moment that you can think of in your career where you had some fantastic success that you were just so thrilled? I imagine winning Lloyd's Bank might have been it, but has there been another one where? So I'm looking for pivotal moments where you've had some woohoo moment or a terrible failure where everything fucked up and you didn't know what to do.
That's an interesting question, because I think when I was on my own, there was a New Zealand guy who was a PR public relations officer of a very large company, and he had total faith in me, and he pushed me. And so, there was a time that I just had to present, and I felt very young and very green, to a whole army of engineers, internationally. And that was scary, and I did, and it went. And it was kind of like, yes, but you know something, Jules? Those times are short-lived. It's like buying...
Oh, I know they are.
It's like buying the Gucci bag or the something. It's the
really?
ego. Yep,
oh, no, I
is.
wouldn't say. I reckon it still sparks in your memory that you go... I remember that was a moment where I went, I am really good at what I do.
Yeah, I know that. But,
No.
I know that I'm good at what I do, but it's not an ego thing. That's the ego. Now I know I'm good at what I do almost because of the low points when you drop into yourself and you make that connection and you know that everything is going to be okay.
Right,
That
so...
you actually connect with everything and...
So what was that? Give me a low point. Give me a moment where you had a realisation and you went, this is shit, but I know I can get myself out of it.
Oh, no, it's not. No, it's not shit. It's a good point. It's not a low point. I mean, one of the things I've written in one of the books is it's like, it's not quite a moment of oneness, but I remember just, you know, I had my little briefcase and I was going down Clapham Junction Station heading to my flat. And it was almost in an instant I knew, and this is really weird, I could see that speck of dust on the top step and I was that dust. I know it's weird. And it fleeted. I'd love to have a longer one of those where you just think none of this is real. Whatever I do, and it doesn't matter. Nothing matters.
That's a big moment, isn't it?
Yeah, and all those accolades. Yes, I've got the awards.
But what do they mean?
I've judged on D&D. So what? Did that change the world? No, it made me feel good. This is not what I do now. Is not about me feeling good. It's about making. It's about doing my work on the planet.
Statement. Yes.
It's like your soul comes knocking on the door many, many times. Sometimes it's a disaster and sometimes you just think...
It is, and both of them you learn from. I mean, it really, you know, I mean, there's a lot of women out there that are going, I don't make mistakes. I learn from, you know, things that happen to me. And it's very true. And you really need to get older to realise that they are actually great things, not bad things.
I know, and it does really
and you feel like the world's ending, but it isn't. And it's actually something you're going to learn a lot from that moment.
I know. And there's an incredible peace in that.
And
absolutely. Being willing to let it go, you know, not holding on to it. Like in the work I do now, I think is invaluable because it's going inside ourselves to find our brand, the brand of our soul, the words, the pictures, the sounds, the colours that our soul journey wants to express. Then deliver that, so we deliver our true selves, not buy from the outside. So if I'm sitting here saying to you, you know, Jules, I won a D&AD award. You know, Jules, I judged on D&AD. Do you know, Jules, I've flown here and da-da-da. What a, you know, a wanker. Sorry.
Well, it is a wanker, but yes.
No,
but it is.
You know,
well, it isn't someone you want to hang around with for a long time.
No,
anyway.
Exactly. But if I say, Jules, I see you.
Let's
do some magic.
Oh God, you've got me straight away.
I've got the tools, and I think you're amazing. And let's change the world. How do you like to change the world?
Yeah, no, you've got me straight away.
Because we can use the same tools that big brands use. They've changed the world. Let's claim it back, and create our world.
Right.
That's where the magic is. And,
it is.
And you have as much access to those tools as I do.
And all of us do, which is so amazing. So, okay, now I'm going to shift the conversation slightly off your career, and I want to know, for a lot of the women out there, and I mean, I've had a couple of conversations about this. How do you juggle work and life? Like, how does your day look?
I have been so lucky. Do you know, people say, there was a Nicola, I can't remember her name. She was a very high up in banking in the UK. Said you can't have it all. You know, I think you can. I really do. I think you can. Do you know? Yes, I did.
It is a juggle, though. It is a juggle if you want it all.
I did have help. I did. Yes. I was able to afford a nanny, which helped with the kids, and I've been able to afford, you know, people who do it. And now, you know, I can afford to have, you know, not whatever I need, but, you know, experts in their respective fields.
Well, because you worked bloody hard when you were younger to get that.
But even if you can't afford it, you know, I do deals. There's people I just do swaps with.
But I guess
do that. So with entrusting things to other people and delegating and trusting the process, I've got amazing children. I am absolutely blessed with them. I love them to pieces. And you met my daughter today.
I did.
And I've had an amazing career. And I love every minute.
And do you work?
Of it.
I guess what I'm thinking more is, are your days long? Do you put in a lot of hours of work, or are you juggling the work life pretty well, or do you see your job as also really a big part of your life? So really, they're not dissimilar to each other. Do you know? Are they distinctive?
Yeah. I don't like to think that I work anymore. People say you're retired. I won't retire. I'm just starting a new career in this. Of course, I'm not going to retire. But, you know, my work, the best work that I do is when I'm bored.
Yeah.
you know, that's crazy, and I almost have to do really boring stuff. And then I go, oh my, and you get a download. It's like a download, or
Yeah.
your right brain can finally go, oh, thank God I can get a word in. Your creative master can go, and then you go, oh, that's the next book. That's it. And then you sort of manage that with whomever you need.
So what sort of hours do you work then?
Any that I want to.
You're like a slippery snake. I can't pin you down, can I?
Look, sometimes
So,
I
mean,
get
are you
up.
working very long days? Are you doing 3 hours of work a day? Are you doing, I'm when I'm busy, I'm busy.
Okay,
When I'm
so
not busy, I wind
a day
down.
could be that I often wake up early.
Yeah.
And at the moment, and with the way that the world is at the moment, I always do a meditation because I just
Right.
think it's nice. I need to come back to myself because it's scary.
Yeah.
And there's no
It is
point in
scary.
going out there and blaming. I don't watch the news, so come back to me. What will I do? And then I will, do my shower. And I do that in a kind of a meditative way, but in a conscious way.
Yeah.
So I'm actually having cold showers after my hot showers.
Oh my God, are you?
I know. Well, I
My
read this
son
guy
did that for
called
6 months
Wim
last year.
Hof,
Yeah,
and I'm thinking,
I reckon my son saw the video. He was like,
Yeah.
I'm going to do cold showers. And I was
Yeah,
like, are you
yeah,
out of
I know,
your brain?
I know, but it's kind of work anyway. So it feels
So
good.
you
I
do come out feeling
whatever
really
feels
invigorated.
good.
Yeah.
And everything. It's doing it consciously, and then I will have a breakfast. But as I'm doing that, what am I going to do today? So at the moment, I'm doing some illustrations for a book, and so I might spend a couple of hours on those. And I'm always doing articles because I'm doing my website.
Yes.
So I'll do some blogs.
Right.
And then I think it's really necessary to go for a walk or do some exercise.
Yeah.
I'll do yoga and something like that.
That's a note to self, must do some of that.
I know. And then I'll kind of fiddle. But while I'm fiddling, I call it fiddling. It might be, I don't know, it could be anything from vacuuming to even drawing. I'll have an intention to, I'm really stuck on something. And then it'll pop in and go, right, that's it. And then I'm off doing something else.
So how many clients do you have at the moment? Like these days, what are you doing?
I'm building my client list. So at the moment, there's probably about half a dozen around. And I'm learning from a lot of them.
That's
And
okay.
I
That
like
would keep you
that,
pretty
'cause at the
busy. That's a
moment-
nice amount, isn't it,
It
really?
is. And I don't want masses. That's why I was saying before.
But I guess I'm a little bit younger than you, and I'm like, bring it on. I'm happy to be overloaded at the moment, but I can see the point in the near future where I wouldn't think that was so great.
No, I feel like I've earned my stripes.
You
I've
absolutely
got my stripes
have.
and whatever,
Absolutely have.
and I don't care. I'm my mind, but I don't care. I think the stuff that I'm doing is magical, and it won't leave me. I think it's transformative.
I love it that you say it won't leave you. So what you're saying is this
every
is
time
my
I go,
heart
why am I
kind of
doing
work.
logo
This
stuff?
is-
Go out and plant some trees, girl. Go out and
No, but
find
your-
another
but
bar.
your way
or
of
go out and
planting
meet some,
trees is to design
and it's like
something.
something like chunk. It comes. Okay, right. Well, we get on with it. So if people if they're willing to be transformed, if their life is not right, or they want to create a better world, this is another tool. Do it or don't.
I love it.
I'm not their mother.
Okay, so no, you're not. That's absolutely true. So, okay, now I'm asking you a really quirky one, and I don't even know how you are with apps. And I guess when I'm thinking apps, I'm thinking phone more than anything. But have you got 2 apps that you could name that you think are really useful that you use?
Well,
all
I
the
thought
time?
Anchor was bloody useful, but now I'm finding out that it's not.
Well, Anchor is as well. So for those of you that don't know, Anchor is a podcasting app, and both Laura and I are both exploring podcasts at the moment. So this has been set up by my fabulous partner who has all the equipment, and I haven't had to do anything other than sit down and have a chat with you.
And the thing I like about it, the thing I like about any of those apps, is that something I can click on and then I can record it and it delivers it.
True.
So they're the sort of apps.
But what about banking apps or
I use
playing
banking apps.
Do you
Yeah, I use banking
Are there
apps.
anything
No, I
that you
don't
think
do
are really
playing.
useful?
No, I play Patience occasionally, but I don't do the playing apps.
Right,
They
okay.
don't really work for me.
I've got
think
one
they
that I
take you down a
love
rabbit
called
hole.
Jot
What?
Not that turns
What
your
is it?
phone into a scanner. And I love it because if somebody sends you a document and you need to sign it, you can drop in your signature and then just take a photo of it, and it processes it in black and white and sends it off as a
Well,
PDF.
that's a good one. I use Genius Scan on my
Okay,
thing,
I haven't heard of
and
that.
that's really good. So then I file things. But there is another one, and I can't remember the name of it, where you scan things and you say where it's going to go in your accounting, and then you can put it into the right.
Is that Receipt Bank? I've got
it
one
doesn't
Receipt
sound
Bank
like
that I
it. It
use
might
as well,
be.
which integrates with Xero, which is really good.
Yeah, that sounds
And the
good.
other one that I quite like is Canva, I would have to say. I mean, and what do you think of Canva? Have you used
I think
it?
it's great.
Have you used it?
I think Canva is really, really good. No, I haven't used it because there's a...
So when you say it's really good, you don't know.
No, because I think that the quality of design is really good. You can do
I
things on
agree.
it. And the reason I don't use it, because it doesn't have the intention that I want to put behind
Right.
things. So I like to find, why am I choosing that typeface? Where can I find it? I like to do that tracking. But
I
think
love it that
it's
you're
got...
still a designer through and through. You
I
can't let it
know.
go, can you?
No, I know.
And really, Canva was set up by a graphic designer, I think
I think
to
it's
help
great, yeah.
people who can't afford designers.
And it's
so.
really, really good quality.
And
I
I'd take
highly
that
recommend
over
it.
Fiverr or one of those kind of things.
Oh,
I think
God,
where
don't
someone's
start me
just
on
going to do
Fiverr.
something awful. You might as well be honest about it and go, I've chosen a
Don't.
template
The good
and
thing,
I'm just dropping my
no,
stuff
I
in.
tried Fiverr once and I got sweetheart in India and he just did everything wrong. It was about 5 times. He still only charged me a $5. I felt
I know.
so bad about it.
Well, that's the other thing as well, because you feel like shit for the fact that they don't charge enough money.
But they do. No, they don't. Oh, sure.
And
there's
they
some
probably
good-
don't deserve it either.
I
All
don't
right,
think
so last but not least, 3 things you have learned in your career based on... So what I want you to think about is, if you were a young girl now or a young woman and you were thinking about setting up your own business, what would you have loved someone to have told you back then that we could maybe help these girls with now?
Do you know a friend of mine, who's even older than me, joined a club?
Is that
She started-
possible? No, I'm only
you're
joking.
such a bitch. Joined a club called the JFDI Club.
Right.
She started it. She said, we talk about things and should we do this and how should we do it? Just fucking do it. And I
You are
really,
so right, yeah.
like that. Just try it. And make sure you protect it. And the other thing I said, have a backup plan.
Yes.
Even if it's a mediocre backup plan, always have a backup plan so you can go to the backup plan.
Yeah, good idea.
And I would also say, gather your friends around you. The friends that you
Yes, that's
absolutely
a real female thing.
trust.
All the girls say that to me,
And
and they're
it's
like,
the
have your
girls.
support network.
Yeah.
Have your support
No,
so that
it doesn't
when you're having a
work.
shit day,
Yeah.
you can call someone and go, oh my
Yeah.
God, I don't know whether I should be
Yeah.
doing this. And they go,
Yeah.
you should. It's fine. Take a deep breath.
Yeah.
It's okay. Keep going.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
because otherwise you just second guess yourself a lot. And I think that's particularly female.
Yeah.
I do think that as girls we need to have other women around us
I
that
do.
believe in
I
us.
agree.
And that actually sometimes, and not always, but sometimes is almost more valuable than your partner or your children or anyone saying you're on the right track, is your girlfriend saying, you've got this, you're all right, go for it.
There's no agenda, not with your true girlfriends.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't try and fix you.
Well,
They don't
what a
need fixing.
beautiful interview. I
Oh,
have
it was
absolutely
fun. It
loved
was
this.
fun. You are
now,
a
Laura,
star.
if anyone wanted to get hold of you to do a logo and actually get some meaning behind their logo and stuff, how would they get hold of you? What's the best way?
Well, my name is Lora Starling, which is Lora.
Lora. Where did Lora come from? I've only heard
that's just what I was
Laura.
called.
What
No,
was
I
your
didn't.
mother thinking, Lora?
They actually called me Leonora.
Ah,
And so Laura
so
came
Laura,
from that,
yes,
and
okay.
Starling. Starling like the bird,
And
which is
Starling, which is great.
Starling. So it's just Laura at laurastarling.com.
Okay, fantastic.
But it's fun, but be prepared for the ride. Cause it's
Oh
not just
yeah,
that,
no, you're not
a
going to
nice
have
logo.
your
It's not going to happen.
You're not going to go to her and say, I'd like a logo in blue and pink with Times Roman, please. I think she'll tell you to buzz off. So thank you all very much for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed the She's the Boss podcast. And I hope to be doing loads more of them, but I'm delighted, Laura, to have had you here today.
You're a star.
Or a starling.
Oh,
No, a
exactly.
star. All right, thank you. I hope you've enjoyed this She's the Boss chat episode. It was great to have you here. If you want to stay in touch, you might also like some of the other things that we've got going on with She's the Boss. Firstly, I've got the She's the Boss show, which is on Ticker TV. Now, you can watch that either on tickertv.com.au or you can download the Ticker app from any of the app stores. So Apple and Android, and they've got an app that is for your phone, for your iPad or tablet, and for the smart TV. Or you could join us for our free Zoom lunches for female founders that we hold online. The best way to do any of these things really is go to she'stheboss.com.au, and on there you can register for the lunches, and I've also got links to the website. So either way, I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm really enjoying digging down and getting down to the nitty-gritty with these women, and I hope you'll join me for the next episode.